Welcome to Film in 5D, the show about everything film with the 5D Mark II. I'm your host, Aaron Hammock. We're back this week with my thoughts on the relatively new Zoom H6.
Yeah, but what about that football game?
What football game?
You know, the Super Bowl thing?
Yeah, I like Peyton Manning, so what? Don't want to talk about it. We should be talking about how we haven't had a show in like over 6 months. Like an in-studio show.
Yeah.
What's up with that?
Yeah, but that football game.
Whose fault is that?
Peyton Manning.
We're not talking about Peyton. Let's get on with it. Okay, so if you follow the show on Twitter, you know that I recently upgraded to the Zoom H6. Now, this recorder has a bunch of features, and everyone is going to have their own reasons for making the upgrade, but I'd like to start out by telling you my own reasons. The H4n has been a great little device for my personal, creative, and professional use. However, I was never fully satisfied with the preamps that it came with, and quite frankly, there weren't too many options about 2.5 years ago when I got it. That is, until now. When I heard that the preamps were actually better in the H6, I purchased it pretty much immediately. Better preamps essentially means less noise. Better preamps also means that you don't have to turn the input up to get loud enough audio. However, I'd like to run a simple comparison test between the two devices and see if this really is the case. This is a test of the H6 test at level 7. This is the H6 test at level 7. This is the H4n at level 70. H4n at level 70 test. This is H6 test at level 10. H6 test level 10. This is H4n test at level 100. H4n test level 100. Testing. Wow, so on my end, that's actually a pretty substantial difference. But like always, let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Most of us are making videos for the internet anyways, so what you hear on your end is actually what really matters. So moving on, another thing I love about the H6, and I think it's awesome that they found room for this in such a small device, is the 4 knobs for the audio levels. I hated having to click a bunch of buttons to adjust my channels on my 4-channel H4n. But the H6 makes this so much easier, really making it feasible to monitor all 6 of your channels live. It's like having a mini soundboard in the palm of your hands. I mean, that's just freaking awesome in my opinion. Not to mention you can really be finesse with your creative work or look professional monitoring your audio in front of clients. So the last reason I made the leap to the H6 personally is the extra 2 channels. Now, I'm going to assume that most people watching who might use a recorder like this for filmmaking are wondering, why would I possibly need 6 channels? And honestly, I thought the same thing when I first got the H4n. But let me tell you from experience, if you ever plan on making a little bit of money on the side, say getting coverage of a live event or any situation where you don't have absolute control of where people will be standing, having multiple mics can be a lifesaver, especially when it comes to things like weddings. Also, another good example that may relate to several of you out there thinking, but Aaron, I don't have nor will I ever own 4 separate mics. And yes, I can see what you're saying, but what if you want to do a music video or something along those lines? Having the H6 gives you 4 XLR inputs, but they also substitute for 1/4-inch inputs as well. That gives you 2 inputs for a guitar and a bass to plug into, 1 input for the singer's microphone, and an input for one of your own shotgun mics for the drums. And then you still have your stereo mic to place wherever you want to get that full sound of the band. I'm telling you, this thing is like a personal studio in the palm of your hands. And as much as I liked my H4n, there were several shoots where I had to use 2 to 3 of them just to get the audio coverage I needed, when I could have just used one H6 by itself. So those are the features that made me upgrade, but there are a few more things that I'll mention next for those of you wondering what else this thing can do. Also, the H6 shares many similarities with the H4n. Like its predecessor, the H6 also acts as a USB interface, which is awesome for those of you who don't want to fork out the extra cash for USB recorders when you already have an XLR mic. The H6 has many of the presets you'd find on the H4n, but the LED screen is much different. Many of the reviews out there say that it's too small, and while I agree, I still think it's much easier to tell when your levels are peaking from a distance because the H6 has a colored display. Oh, and before I forget, I'd like to point out one of the more convenient upgrades the H6 has over the H4n. Let's test out the startup time for each. I have a hunch this one will be quite lopsided. Wow, so that was twice as fast. I mean, you're talking about 5 seconds, but sometimes the H4n would take 20 to 30 seconds to restart. And having it freeze up on you in a live shoot while Talon and clients were just staring at you blankly was just very uncomfortable and very unprofessional. One of the last features I want to show you today is the new stereo mics that come with the H6. You can tell, judging on size alone, the new XY stereo mic on the H6 means serious business. And it also comes with a cardio type mic, which is great for those of you who'd like to be using this for voiceovers as a reporter. But like everything else, I'm going to go ahead and test the stereo ambient mics from both devices against each other and see if size really does matter. This is a test of the ambient stereo XY mics. Testing, testing, testing. This is a test of the ambient stereo XY mics. Testing, testing, testing. Once again, let me know in the comments below which you thought was better. The last thing I want to mention about the H6 that is really only one negative I personally experienced with the device versus my H4n is that they have not included an AC power adapter, and though you can power via the USB included, it's just a huge hassle for me, and I have no idea why they didn't include this given at the price point. Though, if you do have an Apple USB adapter or something along those lines, this sort of won't be an issue for you. One thing I'm not sure about, however, is how well this thing runs on batteries. I've heard that the power lasts up to 10 hours, but with my H4n I never used batteries when I could help it because once it got below 50% charge, I would get this annoying high-pitched hissing sound, and I wasn't the only person who experienced this to my knowledge, so I'm not sure if this is a problem on the H6. Also, I should point out that there are several accessories you can buy for the H6, including a shotgun attachment, which at $70 can be a great microphone for those of you who don't already have one. But my favorite accessory is actually the dual XLR attachment. This accessory turns your H6 into a true 6-channel device, where you'll be running 6 different mics at the same time. It even comes with its own audio control knobs, but it doesn't come with phantom power unlike the 4 XLR inputs built right in. So you will need to run mics that have batteries like certain shotgun mics or lavalier mics. But that's it for this episode. Hope you enjoyed having us back, and let me know what you'd like to see us do an episode on in the future. You can hit us up with any questions you might have on Twitter at Filmin5D or on our Facebook wall at this link here. Thanks for watching, and go out there and get some great audio.
Okay, so wait, I've got a question for you.
What's up?
Xbox or PlayStation? The new ones.
PS4, obviously. Haven't you heard all this stuff about Xbox?
Yeah, how great it is?
Oh, I didn't realize I was talking to an Xbot. My bad.
Well, I mean, you just look on the internet.
I mean,
it's
we've got
clear.
price point. We're talking about price point today. I mean, it's $100 cheaper. You're not forced to get the Kinect, which everybody hates. Doesn't work at all. You spend an hour trying to get the thing to start up and play a movie. You just use a controller. I mean, come on, it's a gimmick.
But it's bigger, dude.
It's bigger and has a smaller GPU. We're not going to talk about this.
Okay.
It's better for media people. Media people like Xbox. You know. PS4 has no features at all for media. You can't even plug in a hard drive into it. But story for another day. About GH4. GH4. We should do an episode on the GH4.
I have no idea.
The micro four thirds sensor camera with the 200 megabytes.
Oh, okay.
200 megabytes bitrate. I mean, that's just insane. I want to get my hands on one of those.
Yeah.
See you next time. See what I did there? That's only one shotgun mic.